Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to EdTech Tuesdays with ATIMS and friends. Today, we will explore the application EdPuzzle, presented by Hannah Haskin. After today, we only have one EdTech Tuesday session remaining for this school year, which is Declutter and De-Stress Your Tech Life, which will take place May 14th from 3:45 to 4:45. If you haven't had the chance to explore Tim Talks, this is our ATIM podcast series hosted by Angela Clark and myself. We explore the exciting developments happening in schools across the state. We also aim to raise awareness about ATIM and other state initiatives, highlighting the valuable services and resources we can provide. You can listen to Tim Talks on Spotify, Amazon, or Apple Podcasts. Please consider joining us at AETC, which is our annual EdTech conference. This year's theme is Game On, Leveling Up with Educational Technology, hosted in Mobile from June 19th through the 21st. Topics range from DLCS integration, AI best practices, assistive technology, and all things Power School. June 17th through the 18th, we will have a pre-conference. The pre-conference sessions will feature professional development opportunities covering topics such as completing an assistive technology assessment, STEM in the gym, and a TEAMS-approved PD. We will also be unlocking the potential during the mega conference, which will take place in Mobile July 8th through the 12th. Come on down and join the fun. Our meeting norms: we are all learners. While we may have a different level of understanding of the topics, we are all able to learn from one another. We want you to be fully present. Our schedules are always busy, but it's important to take the time to participate in professional learning. We all work together. We collaborate to maximize our impact on student achievement and success. Every child, every chance, every day is a non-negotiable. My name is Pernell Allen. I'm the Alabama Technology and Motion Specialist located at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, UAB. Go Blazers. Those other universities, what you see to the left, are other universities where ATIM specialists and the regional in-service centers are located across the state. If you need to get in contact with me, please do not hesitate. That's my contact information on screen. And if you do not know who your ATIM specialist is, reach out to me and I will get you all connected. Region 5 serves the following LEAs, which includes Bessemer, Birmingham, Empower Community, Fairfield, I3 Academy, Jefferson County, Legacy Prep, Leeds, Magic City Acceptance Academy, Midfield, Tarrant, and Trustfield City Schools. At this time, we will turn it over to Ms. Hannah Haskin for EdPuzzle 101. I will stop sharing my screen.
I'm going to move us out, and can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes.
Perfect. I feel like that's always the way to start a Zoom, right? Everyone can see my screen? Okay. So to give you guys some housekeeping things, I am going to navigate on and off of my slide deck today. I want the slide deck to really be a resource for you guys, but I'm going to spend a lot of time in the actual EdPuzzle platform, making you guys familiar with that, showing you guys kind of the click path and the workarounds. But I want this to be as interactive if you guys want. So I have both of my monitors going here. I've got the chat up, my slide deck up. Feel free to unmute at any time. Feel free to put stuff in the chat. I want to help you guys, and I want you to come out here with resources and ready to go for EdPuzzle in your classroom. I do have a bit.ly QR code on here, and I'm also going to pop, whoops, wrong button. I'm going to pop the link to this in the chat. I have hyperlinks and things in this slide deck that I want you guys to take. My goal for any presentation is that you guys leave here knowing how to use EdPuzzle, what EdPuzzle is, and have applicable ways to put this into action in your classroom. So a little bit of background on me. I was a teacher pre-pandemic, during pandemic, and post-pandemic. So I went through the gamut of teaching there. Most of my experiences in elementary school. And then I went and got my master's in curriculum and instruction, and briefly was a curriculum coach. I'm a North Carolina girl. So I did a stint at the North Carolina Department of Ed, and through that made connections and found my way here at EdPuzzle. But all of my family's in Birmingham. So I kind of live one foot in North Carolina, 1 foot in Alabama. My whole family went to University of Alabama, my brother, my cousins, my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and I broke their heart and went to a tiny North Carolina school and settled down here with a really incredible school system. So that's a little bit about me. I have my contact information down in the corner, and that phone number is for my personal cell phone or my work cell phone. So feel free to text it, call it, email. I'm here for you guys as well. So just to jump in, a little bit about EdPuzzle. If you are coming in as a complete beginner, think of EdPuzzle as a way to take a video, embed your own questions, and then get data back from them. That's kind of the bread and butter of what EdPuzzle is. Before we jump in deeper and go over some more, I just want to kind of get a temperature check. From a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being you have never clicked on EdPuzzle before, you've never logged in, 5 being you are a champion. If I asked you to co-host a PD, you would. Give me just a 1 to 5 in the chat. How much do you guys know about EdPuzzle? Okay. Awesome. All right. We have a span here. So for those of us who are 1s, I would really encourage you to click along with me today. We'll go through the process of creating your account for the first time ever, getting logged in, as well as how to find videos. For those of you that are more advanced, feel free to take this time as work time and tune in to new features, new updates, and things like that. So to get us started, I mentioned I want this to be super interactive. We are going to either make or log into our accounts. So these are the steps here on slide 6, but I'm going to walk you through those steps. So I'm going to log out of my EdPuzzle account, and we're going to go ahead and go to edpuzzle.com. I'll put that in the chat too, so you don't even have to Google search it. You can just click on that hyperlink. And up at the top, you are either going to log in or sign up. You'll notice if you go to sign up, it's single sign-on. We're going to sign in as teachers. You can sign in with your Google or your Microsoft account or sign up manually. Once you do so, if you have a brand new account, it's going to prompt you to select your grade level and subject area. EdPuzzle is going to use that to help kind of tailor your content. I'll give you a minute or two to sign in and get signed up. Again, those steps are right here. If anyone does have any issues finding their school or getting their school, feel free to let me know and we can troubleshoot that, or we can go over it afterwards. I'll be the last one to leave for questions and things like that. All right. So now hopefully we have all logged in. We're going to take a second and kind of go over the dashboard of EdPuzzle. So when I log in or sign in or make an account, this is what I'm looking at. This is what EdPuzzle looks like. I have my Discover tab, which is kind of think of like your feed of any videos. This is going to be as new videos are added to EdPuzzle, as teachers create new lessons and things like that. But obviously, all of this is not going to be applicable for your classroom. For example, my last year in education, I taught 5th grade math. As cool as this video, this 60 minutes video about cloning Dolly the sheep looks, I don't know if my 5th graders in math really need to watch that. Maybe they would like it, but it might not apply to my standards. So my options here to find videos is first, this omnibar up here, I could search. So let's say I'm working on dividing fractions. I can type that up here. That's going to be my simplest way to search. But of course, when I'm doing this, I'm going to see some things that are applicable to my grade level. And as I scroll, I'm probably going to see some other things that I'm thinking like, this is not 5th grade, right? But I see some things in here that first, you'll notice that up top, I see ones that are mine. This is likely because I've used these. So you'll see things if you are an OG EdPuzzle user that are in your content that you may have forgotten are there. You can then toggle it by your grade level. Whichever grade level you signed up for is going to be up at the top. So that's going to kind of prioritize your content that you're searching and tailor that down to look for things more specific to you. That's going to be one way to find content. Another way to find content is, or to have content, is to make your own. So if you are following along with me, I'd encourage you to click that blue Add Content button up at the top. Those buttons, I have Discover Video Content, which is going to take me back to my home screen. Think of that as your home button. Upload video. So say I made this awesome video ages ago that would be great for my classroom to add questions in. I can click upload it, and I can upload it as a file or directly from my Google Drive. Next, I have the option to record video. This record video is an embedded screen recorder. Now, if you clicked that with me right now and you noticed, ooh, I don't have that option. It's not popping up for me, Hannah. Well, that might be because you don't have our EdPuzzle Chrome extension. So our EdPuzzle Chrome extension, I'm going to put a link to this in the chat as well, is twofold. First, it's going to give you access to that embedded screen recorder. So once you add it to your Chrome, I also recommend pinning it. If you don't know how to pin an extension, you're going to click on this pretty little puzzle piece up top for your extensions. And then that push pin is going to push pin that EdPuzzle button right to your extension keyboard. If you are adding it right now, you're going to have to refresh your Chrome to make it work or interact during this. So just caveat. But that's going to give you access to that beautiful screen recorder. So gone are the days of having to app smash, record elsewhere, upload into EdPuzzle. If you're making a new video, you can record it right there. For those of us who have been here for a while, there are some updates to our screen recorder. There is a timer, recording time at the bottom. My favorite for this is a drawing tool. There's a whiteboard that you can use, as well as an annotation tool to draw on your own screen. It also opens a separate screen for screen recording. So that link to that screen recorder is right here in this little link button. So if you would like to go back and add it, that hyperlink is right there. That's another place to add videos. Next that I'd like to talk about are our EdPuzzle originals. So if you are following along with me on your Discover tab, look over on the left side tab. Also, you guys aren't going to see this professional tab, so just ignore that. Pretend that's not there. I know it's not on your guys. There's nothing broken with yours. But right under that, right under Discover for yours, you're going to see EdPuzzle Originals. Go ahead and click that for me. For those of you who are my ones, my 1.5, maybe my 2s here today that maybe have never used EdPuzzle or have never even logged in until today, and it's daunting, right, to find a lesson and edit it, these originals are a great place to start. These originals are videos that EdPuzzle has created that we have added in graphics, questions, all of those interactions for you, and they're ready to go in your classroom. So thinking crazily enough, it's nearing the end of the school year, right? And with the end of the school year comes end of the year testing. These study skills are a great way to kind of test out EdPuzzle. You'll notice that under each EdPuzzle original, there's a grade span here. This span is a suggestion. It definitely doesn't mean that this test anxiety video cannot be used with grades other than 6 through 12. As a matter of fact, this test anxiety video, I used this volunteering in a 3rd grade classroom not too long ago. So what it might mean is that you can look at these questions over on the side, and some of these questions just may be things that your 3rd graders might not know about. So it might need to be edited a little bit. But overall, there's going to be things that are applicable in all of these. And then you'll see down at the bottom, suggested videos here. A great resource that I want to give to you today is on slide 12 of our slide deck today. This is a standard alignment to follow the Alabama course of study. So these are Airtables. Think of them as bridging documents between your standards and these EdPuzzle originals. So let's say, for example, I am a math teacher. I can click on this Airtable and see, ooh, okay, I am teaching for a lot of my career. I taught 3rd grade. So I'm going to scroll on down to 3rd grade standards. And honestly, clocks were a beast in teaching 3rd grade if I have any elementary school teachers in here. So I can find my specific standard and then find, yes, Jessica, absolutely. Let me link that to you real quick. Not slideshow button. For anyone else that joined late too, thanks for asking about that, Jessica. Here you go. These are direct links to Alabama state standards. So say I am teaching about analog clocks next week. I can click directly on that and it's going to pull that original right over for me. If I love it, I look at these questions and I think, oh yeah, a 5-minute video that is ready to go for my classroom. These questions look great. Everything's ready for me. I can first go ahead and assign it. I can assign it to a new class or a class that I have already created, or I can click copy and that video is going to be available for me in my content. As you're looking through today, I encourage you, anything that you're finding that you think, wow, that would be a great video that could be applicable to my classroom, go ahead and copy that in. You'll find it in your My Content folder over on the left over here. For those of you who have been using EdPuzzle for a while, I want to encourage you to take advantage of this folders button right here. I heard that next week you guys are going to be talking about decluttering and organizing your lives. This is what my EdPuzzle honestly looked like when I was a teacher. There were about 200 unsorted videos, and then my attempt at the beginning of the year, right, of being nice and organized. Don't be me. For those of you who are ones and are new to EdPuzzle and are starting out, definitely click that add folder button and you can keep yourself nice and organized as you start creating and copying EdPuzzle. So for example, I have my self-created videos here that are slowly starting to go away from my time in the classroom, but I can see things that I created.
All right, guys, so today we're going to be
that I made for my students, as well as anything else to sort as you please. So for those of you that are more advanced in EdPuzzle, definitely encourage you to add folders. For those of you who are brand new, definitely encourage you to create folders and start this off very organized. So we walked through that organization, but again, to go over where to find a video, you have your My Content, which is all of your saved content, edited, anything you make. That Add Content button, once you download that Chrome extension, is going to let you either upload or create. You can always search or find a YouTube video up top. Remember to use those toggles to refine it, or last, but definitely not least, those EdPuzzle originals, which are a great starting place. Now, I mentioned that there were 2 parts to that Chrome extension. The other part is when I'm using YouTube, I'm going to have a way, EdPuzzle has an exclusive partnership with YouTube, to find YouTube videos and pull them directly into EdPuzzle. So let's say I'm teaching animal adaptations. I pull this video up. Now, as per usual, right, there's an advertisement. There's lots of suggested things for K-8 science over the side. Sometimes there's comments here. My pre-EdPuzzle days in the classroom, my kids could quote the Grammarly ads. And I have some stories of not so great ads that my kids also saw, because as much as we preview a video, right, we just never quite know what's going to pop up. That Chrome extension is going to add this button right into YouTube that says Edit with EdPuzzle. When I click that, it's going to take me out of YouTube into EdPuzzle. That exact same video is there. There's no ads. There's no suggested videos. There's no questions. So once you add that Chrome extension, it's going to let you access that partnership and scrub everything out. This makes YouTube completely COPA, FERPA, SIPA compliant, and also takes your kiddos away from the dark hole that is YouTube, right? And then this could be ready to assign to your kids through EdPuzzle or directly through Schoology and our Schoology integration and be ready to go. So if you have a video that's on YouTube that you want to watch in your classroom, but just know that the stress of using YouTube could be not compliant and a little much, I can use it in EdPuzzle just as a regular video. I can clip it if I want, or I can add questions into it. So now we're moving on to the next step in our lesson, and we're going to talk about editing videos. So when I have a YouTube video, that's my first step, right? Taking EdPuzzle to make videos safe. The next part, and the part you're likely familiar with, is being able to turn it into a lesson. So on slide 15, I have a quick little summary here of what you can do with a video. You can trim it, add voiceover, questions, and notes. I'm going to do this live in EdPuzzle to show you those different options. If you want to follow along with me, go snag a video real quick and click the edit button. So I just pulled that video, say it's in my content, and I click on it. Up at the top, you have that edit button. When you click edit, EdPuzzle is going to make you a copy of that video and you're ready to edit it. My first editing option is to cut it. I can trim that video down.
Short periods of time.
Cut out that beginning. I can add a splice right to the middle of that video and add a cut here. I could cut out the end, whatever you choose. Now, if you find a video in EdPuzzle that you love, that another teacher has cut, EdPuzzle is always going to show you that gray part right there. So you can just drag it back to have access to the rest of that video. Think of this as just a cropping tool. Your next edit option is voiceover. If you pulled a YouTube video to go over with me, this voiceover is going to be blocked. So there's never a worry of, ooh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it or not going to be able to do it. We'll tell you right up. If it's something that we create, that you create, that another teacher has created and we're hosting, voiceover to your heart's desire. If it's YouTube, just their terms of service, you won't be able to voice it over. Next is this questions tab. This questions tab is going to be your most popularly used. Brand new to EdPuzzle is Teacher Assist. This is EdPuzzle's dabbling into AI, as lots of companies are. Teacher Assist, for those of you who have been using EdPuzzle for a while, is going to be an awesome tool. This is what I wish was here when I was in the classroom. Teacher Assist is going to generate questions for you. So I pulled this animal adaptations video. There's no questions in here. I can click generate questions. And let's say I want multiple choice questions. When I click that, Teacher Assist is going to pull questions with my favorite part, the answer choices and the correct answer selected, and put it directly into that video for me. So some caveats into Teacher Assist for those of you who are playing around. If this video already has questions in it, Teacher Assist is not going to override those questions. What Teacher Assist is going to do is take a video that's coming from scratch and create it into a lesson for you. So if you want to test it out and you have a video that you've used before that you love, go ahead and take it, delete out those questions, and you can use it to create that in. Now, you'll see that there are those options when you were using Teacher Assist to create multiple choice or open-ended. Just kind of a pro tip, it's much easier to take a multiple choice question and delete out those different answer choices than it is to take an open-ended question and add in multiple choice answer choices and the select answer. So if you're wanting to kind of see, definitely recommend that you go multiple choice. And if you don't like those answer choices, delete them, turn them into an open-ended question.
When the weather warms up.
All right. That was our first couple steps. So far, I want to take a second and pause, let you digest. Are there any questions about finding videos, where to find videos, or those first couple editing tools? Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to know because I used it when I was actually in the classroom.
Awesome.
And I wanted to know, would I be able to use my dot camera with this on the record?
Yes, ma'am, you should be able to. Yep. When you
Okay.
go up to add content and you click record video, your dot camera would just be an option on your, when you click camera, you would have another option other than just your computer camera. You'd have that dot camera option as well.
Good.
Great
Thank you.
question. Absolutely. All right. And y'all feel free to stop me at any point, but if we're good, we're going to go back into that edit and talk a little bit more about the questions tab. So in that questions tab, I can always create my own questions. We talked about multiple choice questions, open-ended questions already. In that open-ended questions, for those of us who have used EdPuzzle for a while, I want to draw your attention to allow audio responses. If anyone in here is a world language teacher, this is really wonderful to let our students practice using their language, or if you just want to give your students the option to speak to you or type. Also, thinking about audio, you'll notice this little microphone button. I'm going to toggle back to multiple choice. For those of us who teach littles, briefly after COVID, my admin asked me to teach a K1 combo. I reluctantly said yes, but found that EdPuzzle in that day was very difficult to use with kinder and first graders because try as they may, they couldn't read the questions that I put in there, nor could they read the multiple choice options. So now there's the option when I click this button right here, EdPuzzle is recording my voice. I could type in that multiple choice question, but I could also record it for them. Think of this as like text to speech or a recorder for your students. We strongly also believe in the power of your voice and the power of you as a teacher being in and active in everything you're giving your students. So this is really wonderful to just give your students your voice. Anywhere you can type in EdPuzzle, you can record. Notice here when I clicked that button down at the bottom to give feedback, I have that audio option too. Feedback will be available for any question that you click it for. So if I want my students to have automated feedback on, yeah, that answer's close, but it wasn't quite right. Here's why. If I'm a math teacher, I could even insert an image writing out for them why, oh, that answer was so close. That was my almost right answer, but not quite. Or I can give feedback and just say, yep, you got it. Awesome job. So that was open-ended and multiple choice questions. My third option in here is note. A note is where I want an interaction in my video, but I don't want my students to have to reply to me. I just want to stop them and force them to listen to something, to read something, to consume something. You have options in here for hyperlinks. You have options in here to add images. For those of you who are big GIF fans or GIF fans, however you pronounce it, that image button will also allow you to upload GIFs. So that can be available in answer choices, in notes, or anything like that. Math teacher friends, that function tool is available to let you type. Again, I taught elementary most of my time, so this function tool, the really base of my knowledge is like parentheses and fractions. But those of you who teach higher levels that are smarter than I, there's much more complicated things in here that I briefly recall from my calculus days. But once you type that in, it's going to create that correctly. So thinking about things like preparing your students for virtual assessments and things like that, it's important that we type that correctly so it's used to how they see it. When I save this, it's ready to go for me. Tips with notes. If you want to kind of prepare your students to signal them for what they're going to learn, notes at the beginning of a video can be a really great way to tell your students, here are the standards that this video is going to go over, or here's what we're going to learn. Pay attention to this. A note at the end of a video is great kind of procedurally to tell your students, all right, turn this in, then go to this assignment, or to hyperlink them to something else. My 3s, 4s, and 5s EdPuzzle users, notice right down here in this corner, I have the option for these little stack buttons. If you are making an EdPuzzle video that you don't want to be super choppy, right? You don't want to have a question, then 10 seconds later, have another question. Use these buttons to stack things. So let's say this note was an example of what my students were going to learn. I can then click an open-ended question. It's going to stack it right after. I can ask my student something as simple as, how are you feeling today? And allow them an audio response. Save that. I'll notice that they're stacked here at the same timestamp. Then I can add a multiple choice question. Another use for these stacked questions is at the end of a video lesson where you want like a ticket out the door, an exit ticket, or a quick assessment. You can have that video preload content and have a quick quiz at the end. So that's kind of a rundown of that video and all of those examples of those editing tools. Like I mentioned, slides 15 and on are going to kind of give you a rundown of what all of those things look like, how to generate questions, audio responses, and all of those. Also, where everything is going to be linked in EdPuzzle. So if you need to refer back to that as you're doing this, feel free to. All right.
I have
Now
a
let's talk-
question. Are
Yes,
there
ma'am.
any language translation services available? Like
So
translating something to Spanish?
So EdPuzzle won't specifically translate a video. However, that YouTube integration is going to allow you to pull anything that may be like Spanish for middle schoolers. And I know that this is going to be a video like teaching Spanish, but anything in here that is in Spanish that I want to pull a video that is in any language, I can pull that
Respond.
directly. There's the Grammarly ad I mentioned. They're so popular. And it's going to pull it right into EdPuzzle. Cool with this too, if this video was completely in Spanish, if this was a native Spanish, like a native Spanish video, when I generate questions, it would also generate them in Spanish. If you want to look specifically for things in EdPuzzle that are in other languages, feel free to toggle that country and look for other languages. So that's a yes and a no.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, awesome. All right, so we've gone, and I'm glad you asked that question because that's a really great question. So we've gone over how to find a video, how to edit it to make it our own. So now let's talk about how to get it to our kids. So a couple options here. If you already have classes set up, you probably know how to do this. If you do not, we are going to be adding new classes. I know lots of Alabama uses Schoology. EdPuzzle has a direct integration with Schoology. So when I go to my classes and click that little plus button, I can add a class directly from Schoology, and I'll have my options here. This directions link is going to take you through, because Schoology can be finicky. We all know that. Will take you through how to sync your Schoology. When you open Schoology and select a class, that add materials, like you assign anything external, is going to give you an EdPuzzle option. And that will help you set EdPuzzle up. Now, caveat with Schoology, if you connect your Schoology class today, and then you click on it in EdPuzzle, if this was your Schoology class, and you click on class members and say, oh my gosh, I don't have any class members, and I know that I just synced them correctly. That's nothing that you did wrong. Those students will import after they've done their first Schoology assignment. So EdPuzzle and Schoology start to talk when your students start to talk and interact through EdPuzzle, basically. Once you add that class, all you'll do to assign is find whichever video you would like. You'll click Assign and click the class that you want to send it over to. You'll notice that you have the option to send it to certain students or to all of them. Thinking about differentiation, that's really popular. Give your students a specific start date and due date. I will let you know that assigning that due date is going to stop your students from being able to complete the assignment. So say I assign something and have it due on Friday, and I have a kid who is out all week. Well, when they come back next week, this video is going to have a 0 in their grade book, and they're not going to be able to complete it because it's past that due date. So if you don't want to deal with the headache of having to open it back up for them, that due date's totally optional. You do not have to set it. The next option that you have is to prevent skipping. If you have ever used EdPuzzle or completed an EdPuzzle or seen it, you have probably heard about this. This stops your students from being able to skip forward. They have to watch the video. I always toggle that on in an assignment, but if it's something that is fun, like a virtual field trip, and you want your students to be able to skip around, if it's something that you're assigning for review, feel free to toggle it off and your students will be able to start, stop, skip around anywhere in the video. That next option there is ATIMS. This is new. So for my 4s and 5, my familiar EdPuzzle, we can now choose how many times students attempt EdPuzzle. You may have seen this if you've been here with us for a while or been assigning recently. I can click twice so my kids can complete it once. And if they didn't do so great, when they get that grade back, they can do it again. It's not going to tell them which were what the correct answers were if they're multiple choice. It'll just tell them which they got incorrect and let them try again. That unlimited option is really wonderful this time of year if I want my students to have things that stay in their EdPuzzle to review. So say I have things in there that I want my students to be able to go back to time and time again. Maybe they're practice quizzes, maybe they're procedural things in my classroom, maybe they're early finishers. That unlimited attempt will let you do that. The last two are accessibility options. As always, I can turn on closed captions or turn them off. And the next, this is newer to EdPuzzle as well. I have the option to allow my students to speed up their videos. If you don't want students to do that, turn it off. Kids can always slow a video down, but for things like accommodations for my AIG kiddos, or for just students that I want to give more autonomy, I can turn that on and they'll have that speed editor in the corner. Once I have my settings how I like them, I click assign and it's ready to go. I have all of those things on the side as well. So let's say, for example, I have prevent skipping off and I notice, wow, 5 of my kids in my classroom somehow finished their 5-minute video assignment in about 15 seconds. That's not right. I can go back into that assignment and turn it on. I can see what it looks like as a student and see, oh, there's that speed editor in the corner. Because I turned it on, my students have the access to speed it up. There's my closed captionings in the corner and see what that looks like. All of my data is going to be here as well. I can see what percentage of the video my students have watched, what their grade is. If I gave them multiple attempts, I can see how many attempts those students have had and all of that data. I then have the option afterwards, if I want, to completely reset for my kid. If I found out that kid, it's difficult to cheat on EdPuzzles, but that kid was cheating, right? They were having a friend help them. I can reset that student's progress. I can make that student retry a video. If there's just a couple that they missed, I can give that student an extra try, or I can totally delete that attempt and that's going to be gone. I have the option as well in my gradebook to toggle by question. I can see all those questions that were in it. And as students complete it, I can see different data starting to appear there. All right, so we've talked about how to assign, what data looks like. The other piece of Teacher Assist that I want to talk to you about is the auto grade option. We love open-ended questions, right? They push our students into higher DOKs. They help us see applied knowledge better. The downfall, they take a lot of time to grade. What Teacher Assist is going to let you do is when you go into that grade book, if it's integrated into Schoology, that grade book is going to be over in your Schoology, or you can do it in EdPuzzle. You're going to have that Teacher Assist option like you see just in my GIF. You type in your ideal answer, what that perfect answer would look like, and maybe throw in some keywords too. Teacher Assist is going to auto grade your students' answers for you. So Teacher Assist is going to look for a 75% or more match, meaning it's going to account for things like grammatical errors or spelling errors. But just like if you had a student teacher in your class, right, you're going to go back and look at the things that they did. Definitely do so with Teacher Assist too. AI is great, but it is not you. We never want it to replace you. If you want to see some more information on how that's going to work, I mentioned I've hidden little like tips and tricks in here. If you click that, it'll walk you through exactly how to use the auto grader and how to use the question generator. So definitely hold on to this as a resource. All right. We're about to jump into some ideas and some other features, but I've gone over really what EdPuzzle is, how to edit, some new editing tools. So I'm going to pause for a minute. Any questions? Again, feel free to cut me off or use the chat if you do have any that pop up. I have the chat over on the side. Or I mention this in every PD, but it's rare that people take me up on it. Please, please reach out to me if you guys have questions or need a thought partner or anything like that. I really love to connect with teachers, coaches, admin, and would love to support you guys in your classroom. All right, so let's talk about some ideas for how we can use EdPuzzle. This is just a sampling of some ideas, but down here, I have a blog that I want to share. This blog is for some ideas of ways specifically to use EdPuzzle in your classroom. For those of you that are looking to flip your classroom, EdPuzzle is a must. If you Google or pull up EdPuzzle in the modern classroom, if anyone is looking into modern classroom or has dabbled in that at all, EdPuzzle was called one of the essentials for a flipped classroom. Choice boards, it's really easy. If you have an EdPuzzle video that you can assign, you can pull, let's go back. You can pull that share assignment tab and link that into choice boards, link it into hyperdocs that you're creating, link it into pathways, playlists, anything like that. So EdPuzzle is really popular in choice boards or for any of these other things, but really the possibilities are endless. This is just a starting point for ideas. One thing that I want to share with you today is live mode. Have you guys seen or used live mode before? Feel free to answer in the chat. Live mode has been around for a year or so now, but it's kind of a hidden gem in EdPuzzle. I'm seeing some shaked heads. Cool. All right. Private question to me too that I'm going to answer for everyone because I feel like it's super beneficial is after EdPuzzle grades a quiz, does it transfer your grades into Schoology? Yes, it sure does. That gradebook is going to sync directly with Schoology. So anything graded in EdPuzzle is also going to populate grades in Schoology. Great question. If you guys have private questions to me too that you want me to answer but don't want your name showed, feel free to DM those to me. Happy to answer them. So once I assign an EdPuzzle assignment that I want to host synchronously for my whole class, I don't want them to be doing it on their own device. I don't want their heads buried in a screen. I'm not pulling small groups at this time. I am instructing. I click live mode on that assignment. EdPuzzle is going to walk me through the steps. Share my screen, so make sure my students can see my projector, my smartboard. However, tell them to go to EdPuzzle and open up this assignment. When I click start live mode, those kids are going to be pulled directly into those assignments. So again, to go back into there, all I did was find my assignment, click on my assignment. I clicked live mode and clicked start live mode, and they're all pulled in. I'll see populated here as all of my students pop in, and then I would click start. This is what my kids would see on my screen. They see my EdPuzzle. Their screens are intentionally going to be very boring. When I start this live mode, my kids' screens are going to be completely white and have a sentence that tells them to watch it on my screen. That way, as I walk around my classroom and I see that kids' screens don't look like this, that they're bright and colorful, I know right away, oh, you are on the wrong tab, friend, and I can redirect them. When I get to a point in that EdPuzzle that asks for interaction, that is a question or a note or anything, my student screens are going to change where they can then answer that question or interact with whatever that is. When I get that data, those answers are going to appear when I choose them to, but those students' names are not. That takes away the fear factor of our shy kids, right, raising their hands, but it holds every student in my class accountable for answering that question. But For those of us who are middle school teachers that have those silly kids that feel real brave for silly answers when their name is not up there, never fear. All of that data is going to be available after the fact in your gradebook. You can see who said what time they said it, and all of that. My favorite thing about live mode, thankfully live mode launched right before I stepped out of the classroom, was notoriously, right? You are teaching and Johnny's called to the office because he's leaving early. Sarah has a dentist appointment. Someone is being pulled out for another class that they're going to. You've got 3 kids absent. And when do you catch those kids up, right? Like never. That time doesn't exist. We try our best, but odds are we're doing it before school, at our lunch, during our planning. We're hoping that they do it whenever on their own. This live mode, if I stepped out of here halfway through to go to the office for my dentist appointment, that second half of the video that I didn't complete is going to be available as a traditional EdPuzzle in my assignment. If I'm absent, this isn't blocked out because my teacher did it live. It's available just as a regular instructional EdPuzzle for me. So live mode is super beneficial for just those issues that I have keeping all my kids in the same place at the same time with my whole group instruction. It'll allow them to do it whole group with me, or if they're not there or they leave halfway through, they still have it asynchronously to catch themselves up. Here's go ahead.
I wanted to ask a question on that. If you're going to put it in live mode, is it actually, if you decide not to go completely live, you had to leave, what about the rest of it? Do you have to pre-record it before then if you decided you had to leave? And you said it will go back to the normal way.
Yep, it'll just go back to normal. So say I am halfway in, right? Like I stop, I show responses, yada, yada, we move on, and it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds in, and whoop, the bell rings, it's time for me to go to lunch. And I exit live mode. That other 2 minutes when I exit is just going to be available for my students as a regular assignment. So that video that's playing, those questions that are embedded into it will be available as a regular EdPuzzle. If you wanted your voice specifically in it, yep, you would put your voice in it. But otherwise, that video is going to play traditionally for your kids on their own time. Yeah, great question. For those of you who are new with EdPuzzle 2 that want to try it out, I recommend pulling an original, right? Maybe you pull a digital citizenship original. Our kiddos always need this. These are aligned to the ISTE standards as well. Just we're off task a little bit, but fun fact. And maybe I pull something on our kids' digital footprint. And I assign this. I can add in my closed captions, add in whatever I want. I assign this to my class, and I'm going to test it out as a live mode. This is a really great way to model a new tool for your students. If you're going back into your classroom to try this, you can show them how EdPuzzle is going to work, talk through what your expectations are with your kids. So for those of us who are new, 2 birds, 1 stone, you can try it, your kids can try it, and you can try a fun feature. I popped a blog in the chat, but this is just another resource that I have tucked in here on slide 32 on how to use live mode. All right. Next, more advanced feature that I want to show to you guys. This is student projects. Student projects are newer, and like I mentioned, they're more advanced. I'm going to close out of a couple things here. So if you've been using EdPuzzle for a while and want to really push your kids to find their own content, to analyze sources, when you click that Add Content blue button up at the top, if you're following along, go ahead and click that. You'll see a button down at the bottom that says Student Project. When I click this, I'm going to title it and say that student project name is, I was working with a teacher last week and set one up for calculus, and then lots of other things that I didn't quite understand, but he was teaching AP calculus. So we put that subject in for that specific standard. The goal was to find a video and add at least 3 questions into that video that explained a specific calculus topic. So he added in his instructions and said that he wanted his students to add in 3 multiple choice questions with a selected correct answer that explained a specific topic, and that video should be 3 to 4 minutes long. You then have two options for the source. The first is that your students upload a video. If you want your students to record and upload their own or find and upload their own, definitely add instructions here on how you want them to do that. Or you have the option for your students to find a YouTube video. Now, with find a YouTube video, I do not mean that your students are going to be released into the dark hole that is YouTube to pull any video or any music video they like and upload it. It's going to look very similar to your EdPuzzle Discover screen. When you assign that to your kids, I have a quick little thing here for what it's going to look like on that student view. They're going to see that link for that project. They'll see the directions. And when they click Start Project in the corner, they'll have a button either to find a YouTube video or upload content. When they click Find YouTube Video, their screen is going to look like this. It'll just be toggled specifically to YouTube. So you'll see here, when I say Find YouTube Video, I'm not looking at this, right? I'm not looking at all of this stuff on the page of YouTube, and my kids aren't. They're looking at EdPuzzle YouTube for Education. They're looking at things like social stories and things like that, and then they're going to use that toggle to search. Student projects are a little more complicated, but for those of us that are dabbling into things like project-based learning or trying to push students, they are a really great resource. Or for those of you that are just ready to get deeper with EdPuzzle. I have another blog in here specifically on some ideas and ways to use student projects. This is, again, a launching point, but this blog was released right when student projects were open and goes through just some ideas of escape rooms, read alouds, poetry readings, and things like that. All of your kids, once they find those videos, will have all of those edit interactions that you do. So let's say I'm pulling, this is business education, and it's an hour long. But if I'm teaching a CTE course, maybe I do pull this. It's the basic of business education, right? And what business students should look at. Well, I told my students that I want 5 minutes of this. So they're going to have to preview this video.
All right, another one.
And toggle
It
this
could be
down
product design. You just call it.
to be about 5 minutes long. Then, if this wasn't a YouTube video, if it was their own uploaded, they could voice it over. But they're going to then have the options in here. They won't have the teacher assist option. They will not be able to use this. They will have the option to add in multiple choice questions, their correct answers, feedback, and anything.
You just call it.
So a great way to push your students further. All right, we've got a couple minutes left. So I want to leave you in these couple of minutes with more resources. I'm going to put this slide deck in the chat again for my friends who might have jumped in a little bit later or just lost it. In these last couple slides, I have lots of resources linked. I have some ideas for station rotation in here, some links specifically to resources, some ideas for choice boards, and then on slide 38, lots more resources for you. If you followed along with me today, but think like, ooh, I really missed an important piece, that Getting Started playlist, which is going to be available right here. Don't know why it links you directly to the Canvas as the front page, but disregard. It'll take you through things every step of EdPuzzle. So if you're looking specifically, and actually, I'm going to change this for you guys real quick.
Kids these days.
To a different playlist because for some reason that's linked to the wrong one. I'm going to link you guys the EdPuzzle and Schoology because I think that's going to be a little bit more helpful for you guys. So we'll edit that real quick. And it can take you through every step. So, man, this is what I get for trying to do things live. This pause, resume. Sorry, friends. It'll take you through every step of that. So how to create an account, how to integrate your EdPuzzle. If you are a visual learner and like someone going through it step by step with you, we can take you through how to specifically integrate, how to assign, what it's going to look like for your students, how to grade open-ended things in Schoology, what those data analytics are going to look like in Schoology. So that question specifically about what the gradebook looks like, you can see here that EdPuzzle is going to be a tab and it's going to integrate directly so you can see all of that data. So this Getting Started playlist is a great place. If you love what you heard today and think like, wow, I am ready to jump in with EdPuzzle, I want to know more. These training courses are really great resources for some micro badging, some self-paced PD. There are things in here like EdPuzzle Beginner. If you think like, whoo, I was super overwhelmed today, I need to go through it on my own pace. That EdPuzzle Beginner is going to take you through all of what I went over today, very slow paced. If you want to learn more about gamification, diversity, 21st century learning, all of these are really great resources. If you are just super excited about EdPuzzle and want to get in deeper, but not in something specific, EdPuzzle Coach would definitely be what I recommend for you. EdPuzzle Coach is a little bit more advanced, but today you really got the basis. Coach is going to take you through new features, ideas, and other things like that. So definitely shameless plug for EdPuzzle Coach. We also have links here to our originals, that Chrome extension again, and our help link. So in these last 5 minutes or so, I am here for you. As a thank you to your time on slide 40, I have a form linked. If you would like some fun EdPuzzle swag shipped directly to you, go ahead and fill that out and we would love to send over that EdPuzzle swag to you. I also have that QR code and I'll make this big for you guys that you can scan to get the link to this presentation. And like I mentioned, in these last couple minutes, I'm here for any questions, comments, or anything that you might have. But I thank you so much for your time with us today and hope whether you were a 1 at the beginning of this or a 5, that you took something away and learned something new about EdPuzzle.
Awesome job, Hannah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always great to be with you. These are some of my favorite PDs that I do, Purnell, so have me anytime.